First off, like to invite the panelists on this chat right now. I'd like to invite Mr. Sampath Kumaran, Vice President, Defense and Aerospace, Adani Group.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Ankit.
Good morning, Mr. Sampath Kumaran. I'd like to invite Colonel Ravi, Senior General Manager, Homeland Security, Dynamatics Technology.
Hi, very good morning.
Good morning, Colonel Ravi. I'd like to invite Mr. Neil Mehta, Director and Co-founder, Asti Aerospace Private Limited.
Hi, Ankit. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Neil. I'd like to invite Mr. Sanjeev Sehgal, Founder and MD, Spurs Security Tech.
Good morning, everyone. It's really nice to have discussion of PLI on drones. It's a very encouraging in the short period. The PLI has been worked on to this particular segment. It would be really very interesting to talk about it.
Absolutely. It's a real pleasure to host all of you in this session today. And what I would like to do is just give a very, very brief overview of the PLI scheme for everyone's interest. And based on that, would love to, hear everyone's thought, get to know a little bit more about what each one of us is doing in this domain and how we expect to be benefited and what do we expect from the ecosystem. So to give a very, very sharp and quick, update on what the PLI scheme means for the drone industry. Now, what PLI scheme means is a production-linked incentive scheme where the government is looking to give back a portion of the benefit. Typically, it is actually a portion of the GST back to the manufacturing organization for the incremental production that they do over the base year. Now, what has happened in drones is very interesting, wherein in drones, actually, there is no base year production linkage. There is a threshold only. That threshold is the only limit applied in the drones industry, and anyone who crosses that threshold can avail the PLI scheme benefits. As well as the method of computing the incentive is also very unique as compared to all other sectors. The method to compute the benefit is based on local value addition. And what it's going to happen is that they're going to look at your revenue from the sale of drones or drone related products. And it is going to look at the cost of the raw materials or the production cost of that material, and they will give 20% of that balance value addition in the country back to the company that is eligible for the PLI scheme, which is very, very unique, very different from what's happening in all of the other sectors and segments. This stands true for both components as well as the full drone manufacturers. With that very, very brief introduction, I'd like to bring in Mr. Sampath Kumaran to give a very brief opening remarks, both about what Adani Group is doing in this space and how do you expect to be looking into what is happening in this industry at this point in time, and where exactly is the Adani Group adding value in this ecosystem.
Thank you, Ankit. First of all, thank you, Fiki, for organizing a very important session on the PLI scheme, because largely this scheme is the one which will drive. I strongly believe that this scheme is the one which will drive many manufacturing organizations to look at this particular sector in the years to come. Okay. First of all, as an Adani Group, of course, we are a group which is focusing on many facets of the drone manufacturing and also anti-drone manufacturing or a counter-drone manufacturing. So typically, of course, Mukul has commented, a very large group is there. Let me make it very clear. In the drone vertical, I strongly believe that, the size do not matter today, because the industry as a whole is in a very nascent stage. Everybody is going through a learning curve. So that's a startup phase. And I'm sure the field is very open for everybody to come and play. Okay. And we strongly believe in competition, and the healthy competition is what, increase the aerospace and defense and also the drones footprint in the country. So coming to the work what we do in Adani Group, in fact, we have group of companies. In fact, I also had a startup within the Adani Group, which is focusing on the swarm drone manufacturing. In fact, having said that, I'm very happy to share with the audience here that as of yesterday, my company, it's Adani Group company, we have a tie-up with DTU, the Delhi Technological University. So we have been awarded a Meher Baba competition. We are one of the top 3 companies who has been given a best communication architecture for the swarm and drone industry. So in fact, we play in swarm drones, which are typically a small drone, less than 5 kg size. We also have 2 joint venture companies, one located in Bangalore, the other one located in Hyderabad. In the Bangalore facility, we produce every year about hundreds of loitering munition UAVs. It covers, the micro and small UAVs. And also the Hyderabad facility, which I had, we produce a male class of UAV. It's a joint venture with the Elbit Systems of Israel, which is typically goes for a large, it's a 1.1 ton capacity aircraft. It's not an UAV category, it's a UAS category. So, so we play in a small segment, the swarm segment, and the loitering munition segment and the large segment. So this is what we are. And of course, we work in 3 different categories. And one important thing is, in fact, just to again answer Mukul's question, if anybody thinks that, we do everything here, no. We as an organization across all the 3 companies that I mentioned, okay, all the 3 categories, we have made a conscious decision that, already there are a number of small scale industries who are playing here, but definitely not making money because there are no volumes. We made a conscious decision that we will support the small scale industry, MSMEs, and we are working more than 30 small scale industries, predominantly located in Bangalore and Hyderabad, who are supporting, and they are supporting us. They are the backbone for company like us to produce the UAVs of different classes. Okay, coming to the PLI scheme, again I'm making it very clear, competition is required, and in any case the scheme clearly restricts that somebody, see, in fact only 120 crore has been kept as a PLI scheme for the next 3 years. I also believe, because all of us in the FICCI committee have discussed about it and we were expecting the numbers to be larger, but the way the scheme has been formulated, not a single company or 2 or 3 companies can take away the full thing. In any case, there is a restrictions of 25% of the total value, to be produced. In any case, very beautifully it has been drawn. Only about 40% of the value addition, of which 20% you will get it. Okay. So the scheme is benefiting everybody. Don't have any doubt that, 1 or 2 or 3 big players who can come and take away the whole thing. It is not possible. And also very beautifully, the scheme talks about distribution between MSMEs, again, the MSME drone manufacturer and the component manufacturer. It's a very, very beautiful thing. They have done it, though amount is very small, looks like. And again, on the larger companies, so again, there is a restriction on the components manufacturer and the drone manufacturer. So it's a very good scheme. In fact, I'm extremely happy because we are all contributed for making this PLI scheme. So that, this scheme is a very good one to start with. And majority of the components, as Mr. Rajan Luthra mentioned, I think, very detailed way they have covered all the components that are coming here, that are required for the industry. The only one area that, I wanted to mention, because see, we don't look at only the manufacturer of it, which as I could see, most of us are from the manufacturing industry. The bigger business, the bigger economy of scale, and actually is going to come from service providers. And, so probably if this scheme maybe over a period of time can be also extended to them, it would be very, very good. In fact, there are training institutes, pilot training institutes. Today, not so much of business available. It's all, the futuristic actually. Today, the drone industry is in a very nascent stage. All of us are startups in that regard, and everybody can play only provided they survive for at least next 2-3 years. Keeping that in mind, maybe through this forum, I would request that if other agencies, the service providers also can be included, so that it will benefit by and large everyone who are associated directly or indirectly with this industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sampath Kumaran. I request Colonel Ravi to share his opening remarks.
Thank you so very much, Ankit. And thanks to the FICCI for giving a wonderful opportunity today to discuss on the PLI scheme. Well, the PLI scheme, as you are all aware, and our previous speakers have already brought out, and things are there. It is a kind of a milestone and a significant announcement in terms of India's journey on the drone sector, especially for achieving the Atmanirbhar Bharat. And this actually propels the whole drone industry, right from a guy who is yet to start up, or gives him a boost to welcome him to the startup fraternity, achieve his dreams, get him on board, help him start up, has also incentivized him as and when he is growing. And as Mr. Luthra has brought out, and also Mr. Sampath, Dynamatics also supports many of these startups in terms of all the kinds of support that we have to give in the ecosystem, right from handholding them, encouraging them, and walking through them to achieve what they have set forward to, in turn also giving a boost to the local manufacturing sector. Well, Dynamatics, it's a precision engineering company and a highly engineered product supplying across all the verticals of aerospace and defense, automotive, hydraulics, and security applications. We have our presence not only in India, but also across the world, wherein we are an Indian company, purely Indian company with a global manufacturing facilities, supplying not only for India, but also across the world for major sectors, especially so in aviation and in hydraulics. And when we come to the homeland, we have the drones, the PIDS system, and the other MSVs and other. In the drones, we are focusing mostly in having a full-scale product. Initially, we started with the defense sector. Now we are slowly spacing it out to the commercial space of dual. Like in the defense sector, we had the surveillance, and then we got into the logistics. So that logistics experience, we are getting it into the commercial space with logistics drones, which can carry your health equipment or your organ transplant or the vaccine delivery and things like this, and then finally into the agricultural space. Now, in all these sectors that we are into, we have a conscious decision of supporting the startups, the MSMEs, and we have created more than about 200 to 500 local suppliers, the ecosystem to supply various parts across, not only in the drone sector, but in the aviation sector, expanding much more and encouraging them. Now, coming back to the PLI scheme. Now, it covers various components. If you actually go through the airframe, the propulsion, the power systems and all, like as Mr. Rajan has brought out, the main important thing that we need to do as manufacturers, be it a small scale manufacturer or a startup or a big company like Adani, Reliance or us or IdeaForge, is we have to concentrate our efforts not only on indigenization and increasing the present 30 to 40% to 60 to 70%. In this, we support the startups, especially so the battery manufacturers, the payload manufacturers, the propellers, the motors that we are getting in from outside as of today, to be very candid. Dynamatics in this front has already started sourcing its batteries from local manufacturers to help them establish themselves, as also encourage them into a larger scale. We are also looking out towards there are a couple of companies which have come up and we are trying to support them for the motor manufacturing and the propeller manufacturing also. The communication systems as well. There are a couple of companies here in Bangalore and Hyderabad, wherein we are taking their systems and helping them develop the niche, getting them to the global standards. So in these things and the sensors, we are tying up with certain companies in Pune and Mumbai, which are getting into the space of INS or IMU. And these sensors are the critical sensors when you even use it for commercial applications, not only for defense applications. So the PLI, as we also look at it, gives an encouragement to the training sector, as Mr. Sampath has brought out. If you look at the training, the ever expanding scenario of the Indian things, which is just in the nascent stage, will require drone pilots in loads. Whereas the FTOs or the training schools are not yet geared up to that extent that would be requiring. If you see the project Samvita, the success that has been achieved in that, or in the mapping sector, the agricultural space, we will be requiring qualified drone pilots, not the normal drone pilots, right? Yes, we are having some of them qualified and some of them normal hobbies which have got into space. But when the draft training rules come out and we start certifying people, we'll be requiring at least 300 to 400 drone pilots being churned out per month, and quality drone pilots to need or meet this expanding scenario of the drone operations that you are looking into. And I'm very sure with the government taking the steps, the DGCA and the MOCA especially taking up steps to facilitate this, we are going to see a drone revolution for sure. There's no doubts on that. And I'll not get into the market sector in terms of the amount of jobs that this would create, especially the drone jobs, be it in the AI sector, the software, the hardware, or the pilots itself, is enormous.
Thank you, Colonel Ravi, for that generous opening remarks. I would request Neil next to share his opening remarks.
Okay. So thank you, Vicky, and thank you, Electronics for you for organizing this panel session. Very happy to kind of participate in this and share our views. So just for the benefit of the audience, I'd like to introduce Asti, which I'm one of the founding members of. So Asti Aerospace is about a 9-year-old company based out of Bangalore primarily. We started by designing and developing systems for surveillance and security applications. That's drones for surveillance and security applications. And that's still a major part of our market today, where we serve the Indian Armed Forces, paramilitary, as well as law enforcement agencies with our drones and related software products for surveillance and security applications. We started focusing on developing, individual components of drones, starting with the autopilot, the ground control stations, and then slowly adding more systems to it to build complete systems. And that's kind of continued from the starting days to today. So we are kind of very vertically integrated in terms of having the design capabilities, having the embedded hardware and software expertise, as well as overall cloud software expertise. We make cloud software solutions for drones as well to provide an end-to-end solution for our clients. Since the last 3-4 years, as the commercial market has opened up, as Rajan sir mentioned, there was a ban on the use of drones in the civil airspace for quite a while. But since 2018, as the market has opened up, we've also, taken our technology stack, which, we use for defense, and brought it into the enterprise market as well. And today we develop solutions for inspecting critical assets, for surveying land and terrain, construction progress monitoring, as well as agricultural surveying using our drones and software. I think, coming just looking at the value stream of opportunities in the drone sector, right? We have everything from components, motors, cameras, batteries, as mentioned, and also a lot of other electronic items, the flight control systems, the communication links. And then we have integrators, system integrators, who kind of overall do system integration design for a particular application, somewhat like us, as we start focusing on defense. But then, there would be someone who's focused on, let's say, the agricultural spraying market, or someone who's focusing on, indoor inspections, things like that. So system integrator's job is essentially to design the entire systems, to work with a lot of suppliers, both talking about us, definitely Indian suppliers as well as international suppliers whose products we use. Some of it is designed ourselves, some of it could be off the shelf, and then add other value-added pieces like software for that particular application, guidance and navigation systems. For civilian applications, it could be UTM software. So a lot of software layers that could be added on the hardware, which makes the hardware intelligent for a particular application. And then you have the kind of end users. Who are the service providers who service the end users, I would say, like a Reliance or a larger company or smaller company who wish to use the drone imagery or the drone capabilities for carrying out their applications. And really, the kind of I think if you just look at an overall technology landscape, drones is a disruptive technology. It's disrupting the way that traditional operations are being carried out, whether it is monitoring construction or finding out the health of crops, or doing inspection of a flare stack on an oil and gas facility. So it's a completely new way of doing things, which was not done, which was not how it was done before. And that brings a lot of opportunity, though being a nascent sector, as was pointed out, a lot of opportunity to disrupt the way traditional enterprises have been carrying out their operations, moving from pen and paper to more digitization. Drones are an important piece of digitization strategy for any enterprise nowadays. And so there is kind of value to be added across their entire value stream, right from components to system integration to software analytics, as well as the service delivery part. So when we talk about the PLI scheme, I think I would like to point out that the intent of the government is very clear. They want to make India the drone hub of the world. Don't want India to be left behind in this sector, though it is very nascent as of now, but it is of strategic importance, and it is an emerging technology which is disruptive, as I mentioned, and we don't want to be left behind. We want to make sure that India has a very strong foothold in this technology. In fact, becomes kind of over the period of time a place where innovation in this technology can come from, not just absorb innovation. So I think the intent is very clear. It's come right after the new drone rules were launched, and so it carries forward that momentum, for the entire industry. In fact, I think it was only on a Sunday. It was on a Sunday where the industry associations met and on an urgent basis provided some recommendations to the Ministry of Civil Aviation, and about 3 weeks later we had the PLI scheme announced. That was a very rapid kind of turnaround. We haven't seen that happen in other industries. So the government clearly is putting its weight behind it. It's making its intent very, very well known, and I think it is up to the industry now to take advantage of it. Of course, there are some specific things within the PLI scheme which probably we can address a little later. But I think the important thing to say that is the intent is very clear, and I think it's up to the industry to make the most of it.
Thank you so much, Neil. Sanjeev, next up is you, and you are the only component manufacturer in the mix today. So I'd love to hear your remarks in terms of how do you look forward to, apart from a broad overview, how do you look forward to this ecosystem, and what are your expectations?
Yeah, thank you, Vicky and EFI to have this session, and maybe including us. And maybe I will again say they're pushing me to join this particular session on drone manufacturing, and specifically on the drone component side. So as on what we are doing, I'm Sanjeev Sehgal, founder of Spurs CCTV, 19-year-old company. Incidentally, we were the first to manufacture CCTV camera designed in India in 2008 and have been working towards Atmanirbharta on CCTV systems for quite a long period. And we believe that these kind of schemes are really quite interesting. And maybe when the PLI came on drone, I was quite upset because we were trying to fight for PLI on CCTV, and we found that PLI on drone has been announced and CCTV has been ignored at all. But I had a discussion with Rajan Luthraji and then Mukul from EFY, and later we realized maybe this is the God has given us an opportunity to create cameras for a one vertical, which is going to be maybe it's time to focus on this segment, because basically the cameras, the video feed is the basic technology is same what we are doing it for CCTV cameras. And we are looking this segment as a quite promising one. And we would request all the drone manufacturers, because camera is the key component. Maybe the value might not be the much in each segment, in each particular drone. But if we talk about camera is the key component, because camera is going to give the image and the video feed for all the applications. So camera is going to play a vital role, and close working with all the drone manufacturers. Maybe we believe that what we did in 2008 for CCTV cameras, we can do it for drone camera manufacturing also. We are very keen, all set. We are working, our R&D team has been already allocated for looking into what technologies, what is the requirement like. But if it comes directly from the drone manufacturers and we can get some references, it would be much faster and much better, and we can come up with some product indigenized, made in India. We were talking, maybe everyone has talked about various other components. This was one component which was not, and I believe most of the people still believe that the cameras cannot be designed and produced in India. But we will make sure that this, whatever we did on CCTV side, we'll make sure that we do it on the drone side also. Coming on the PLI side, it's really interesting. Maybe it's opportunity for everyone. And maybe I would like to interact more closely with the FICCI team to understand how we can get benefit out of it. And we are all set. We can just promise everyone on this session that we are all geared up and want to be part of this revolution. And we need support from everyone who are going to manufacture these drones. Thank you.
Sanjeev, thank you so much for that very quick introduction. Sanjeev, I want to ask the first question to you, actually. What I realize is that you make a really large number of systems, and this actually stands true for everyone who's building a larger portfolio of products. And within that portfolio of products, we expect drones to be one of the subsections. And how do you expect that, the administrative dynamics will pan out? Will there be sufficient readiness in the component and the drone industry, particularly the larger businesses, to segregate their, projects in a way that they can clearly bring out the value addition in the drone component specifically from the mix of large number of systems that you manufacture and produce?
Maybe I say this PLI could be one of the motivating factors. Definitely. While government has also come up with this scheme because they can motivate people like us. So basically the major technology which will be going around, the sensors, image sensors, if we talk about the processors, whether we are using Qualcomms or Umbrellas, the major components which would be going, and the major video streaming and all those technologies are similar. So we just need to redo certain things and convert those technologies into which can be used on these drones. It is as I told you in my earlier few minutes back also, it's basically how we can get it focused up. If we get some commitments from the various manufacturers, apart from looking in, because camera is one thing which people think, yeah, okay, it's not one of the major values if we talk about the drones. But we need certain commitments or certain things coming from these drone manufacturers. So definitely, we look this as a big segment, and PLI is one of the segments. PLI is one of the schemes which can keep us motivating. So if we get to be the part of this PLI, so I don't think, because it's like increasing the scope, and to have a segment which is quite a growing up, not even in India, world over, and everyone is at a almost similar level. Maybe in CCTV we might be too much lagging behind China's and other countries, but drone is one segment which is now starting to grow. And maybe we all are startups here, and we have an equal opportunity for everyone to scale up and grow up in this segment. So I don't think
Thanks.
that could be something which will be stopping us in entering into it. If we get some bigger orders on our current segment, this is quite interesting. At least for us,
Absolutely.
we are looking it as a go to market thing, and quite focused onto it.
Absolutely. Mr. Sampath Kumaran, do you have any experience around segregating this? Because I see this as a administrative spruce up as well for a lot of businesses, because they will have to make sure that their books of accounts are segregated, and the reporting is really in order to be able to leverage this particular incentive for particularly companies where the mix of products is much larger. For maybe somebody like Neil and myself, it may not be as challenging in that process. You're on mute, Mr. Sampath Kumar.
Yeah, thanks, Ankit. In fact, let me just start with responding to Sanjeev, and then I'll come back to you. I really appreciate what Mr. Sanjeev has talked about it. Frankly, we look for a lot of MSME companies and the companies who can indigenously support us, but I never heard of his company. And I see, since we work on both the verticals of drone and also the anti-drone, I see a good opportunity for collaborating with companies of Mr. Sanjeev Sehgal. There are good opportunities to discuss about it. Of course, some modification like what he was mentioning, if it can be done, it is possible. Coming to your answer, of course, we have a lot of chartered accountants in the country, and so any schemes should also, only the drones company should not be benefited. So the chartered accountants also would be benefited in the whole process. On the lighter note, certainly yes, but of course, if you really look at the way the government has put it, all of us have contributed for the PLI scheme. Within record 2 weeks' time, the government has come out and published this. That itself is with I would say, magnifying speed. So, but any process when we are establishing, probably we as manufacturers may have to go through this small pain, okay? Because when it is too many components, too many, in fact, look at our company. We play in swarm drones, we play in mini and micro drones, and also the large drones. It would become challenging, but I think, since they are segregated under different entities, probably at an entity level, it would be looked at it. But in fact, I don't want to criticize this scheme, because this is a scheme which has come out with lot of efforts of lot of people who are in FICCI and also the FICCI Drones Committee. Probably, so let us swallow the pains of, what we can face maybe for the first couple of years. Probably, maybe when we expand, I think all of us will enjoy it because it becomes a practice. Okay. So I don't see it would be a major problem, but of course, government has to trust us, so we have to make, they are making us to pay to chartered accountants in a little way. Probably we have to live with that for some time.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Another question I have is, and this is to all the panelists, what are the kind of quantities we can expect from drone platform manufacturers particularly to give everybody a broad excitement over what this will probably look like for them. So if you could throw some light, starting with you, Mr. Sampath Kumaran, what are the kind of quantities we can expect in the drone industry?
See, in fact, please, I will only ask all the panelists to look at what we have worked out about 3 months ago, okay, as an opportunity that is available in this country, with an intention to make the country the drones manufacturers for the world. Okay, so I also mentioned about it in the address initially. See, today survival is the question. Definitely, a company like yours, company like even Asteria, who started about 8 to 10 years back, and also some of us who are already working in this field, it may be easy. But for any startup company, the opportunity is just opening up basically. Okay. So, but as I mentioned, the scheme like this will definitely be a motivating factor so that, it will help the companies to come invest, especially the MSME segment is what I'm more concerned about when you ask this question. They can come, they can survive, maybe they can make some money from the schemes like this PLI scheme, which will help them to sustain for the long run play. Okay, so that is what it is. Initially, if you really look at it, nobody will come and give you business for any company, whether you are a small company or big company. All of us have gone through it over a period of time. And everybody who comes in has to make that initial efforts. Maybe they have to come with bigger heart to play for longer duration. And I am sure everybody can be benefited in the longer run, Ankit.
Understood. Any thoughts on the export market, particularly in terms of numbers? Is that a more lucrative opportunity? Like you mentioned, a lot of short-term pains will be there in growing the sector internally or domestically. But are there any opportunities that you see in terms of quantities to service the export numbers?
Absolutely, yes. In fact, I started from a company which is already exporting in a big way for the global markets. That is mainly because of the foreign collaboration that we have. In fact, incidentally, the larger UAVs we are not selling in the country at all, and we are still eager to do some business in the country. Of course, on the smaller segment, now that the Air Force has come out in a big way with MBC, the Meher Baba competition. So they supported not only us but five companies like us for design and development activity, and that is going to come in a big way. And I'm sure, in fact, the small initiatives that is being done by various institutions in the country, especially the IITs, they are doing a lot of initiative in that direction. And also the government agencies like IAF, and also we keep here that Army is interested in developing. I think you are one of the biggest beneficiary of it. And the Navy is also coming out with a similar scheme, Ankit. And I'm sure in the years to come, what we can learn from these domestic experiences, we can use it for the advantage for earning foreign exchange. That's what I'll put it in a simple terms.
Kal Ravi, your thoughts?
Well, I echo the sentiments of Mr. Sampath, but at the same time, also like coming to the first part of your question regarding the quantities for the Indian market. Like you are right now, like I'll take the case in point of Idea Forge or maybe Dynamatics or even Asteria. We all started as supplying for the defense. So when you look at the defense sector, it is a niche sector with a niche technology and requirements, but the timelines are a little on this longish side. So you really can't quantify immediately on the defense sector because there are probably various variables which one needs to cater for. So we leave the defense sector on the quantity side because it keeps varying as per the requirement and even the PMF for that matter. But if you come to the commercial space, now in the commercial space, again, you have various segments where certain companies have concentrated on a particular segment and certain companies are just about entering that segment. And this, of course, is again, as I told earlier, the best time for any startup to expand into this commercial space and also in the defense space, if they can sustain the time wait or the bandwidth of time delays. And in the commercial space, when you talk of the application base, it could be like there are certain companies which are doing a fantastic job in the Samvita scheme. and they've really revolutionized the whole land revenue process or the land records or the mapping, and even with the Survey of India, some of them are doing it. And also, if you see the agricultural space, we have some startups doing a fantastic job and already made a mark for themselves on that. And there are certain others who have recently conducted the trials in Manipur or in Telangana, in Vikarabad area. They're all again startups. So if you see, more than, to be very candid, the bigger companies, the startups are making the mark and actually taking the drone revolution to a greater height.
I'm looking for somebody to give us some number. Neil, go ahead. Give us some number, man.
Yeah, so I think I'll put kind of my 2 cents on it and give you an actual number. So I think in my estimation, in the next over the next 2-3 years, I think we can see a demand of at least 30 to 50,000 drones, indigenous drones, servicing the market, and there is a bigger opportunity. If you can service the consumer market as well, which I think there are already maybe around 1 lakh drones, in the consumer or prosumer area, which are right now being imported from China. So, I think that's probably a quantification of the opportunity which is there in the next 2-3 years. Probably we can discuss about this, but I think what we see, right, is, of course, things starting from the end application, right? Let's say it's defense, which is a very well established, mature application. And then we have other applications like, agriculture or inspections or land surveying. And then you have, service providers who are servicing that end application. Then you have manufacturers who are manufacturing drones for that particular application. And then you have component manufacturers who are, making components for that. So, it trickles down, right? The demand, when you have demand from the defense, demand from Swamitva scheme, demand from larger enterprises using drones for different applications, you will start to see trickle down effects of, firstly, service providers coming up, secondly, manufacturers coming up, thirdly, component manufacturers coming up to service them. And I guess the intent of the PLI scheme is to jumpstart that a little bit by incentivizing the manufacturers of the drones as well as the component manufacturers to start production in India, even when maybe that larger demand is still not yet realized.
So thanks so much, Neil, for summarizing the quantities that both Mr. Sampath Kumaran and Colonel Ravi mentioned in terms of applications. You brought it about in a really succinct manner in terms of the numbers. Mr. Sanjeev, are these quantities exciting for you as a component manufacturer? Or are they sufficient? Let's put it this way. Exciting may be too far-fetched in the early days.
Maybe the quantities which we are talking about would not be that exciting. Would not that be exciting? But maybe this is what actually happens into the electronics, any of the electronics product. So maybe because all the development cost adds on to the BOM cost. So if the volumes are going to be limited, maybe those costings have to be on the higher side, and as the volumes grow up, these costings for the cameras will also come down. Specifically, if I talk about our domain, so maybe it is how focused we can be, and maybe apart from Neil, everybody gave this answer very diplomatically. So this is one of the major concerns of the manufacturing industry, because everyone says there is a huge demand, but what is that actual demand is always a big question mark. So maybe again, I will again come back to that maybe certain incentives which are coming in the form of PLI or many other schemes are meant for giving motivation to people like us, so that we can maybe put in some energy here and add on these segments. Maybe for us, typically if we talk about cameras, it is somewhere extension to what we are doing today. We are since we are doing those numbers in a good volumes, maybe the image sensor we use the similar same image sensor in the same camera. So maybe our investment going into few components. So how smartly we can do it, that depends upon it. So, but definitely. These volumes are not that exciting. Very frankly, today we produce almost 1 lakh cameras per month, which we are going to increase to 2 lakh cameras in next 6 months. So this total figure is quite very small, but but this is an add-on thing. And we are not only looking at, if we develop a camera, we are not only looking at Indian market. Maybe if we we are able to do these cameras, we are looking at a bigger world market for these kind of cameras, because very frankly, in last 1.5 years, there is a huge wave against no to made in China components. So maybe that is another opportunity for us going outside India also. So maybe we are in the game. So we are not looking at the volumes to look into the putting us in whether we invest in it or not. But definitely, if something comes where we get some commitments or we get certain alignments with some companies from the start of development of these products, that will bring in more energy and the go-to-market time can be reduced drastically.
Absolutely. And I think you rightly mentioned that in a way, the necessity of PLI scheme for drone and drone components is actually accentuated by the fact that in the short term, the volumes will be what they will be. And therefore, such incentives can really augment the efforts that the industry can put towards indigenization of a lot of these components. So that's a very useful response, Mr. Sanjeev. I have a bunch of very interesting questions from the audience. I'd like to pose them to the panel here. And apparently, a couple of them are for me as well, but I'd rather have the panel respond to them. First question is that if a startup cannot qualify for PLI due to investment bracket, is there a way it can collaborate with big organizations to benefit from the PLI scheme? Who would like to go and share your sense on this question? It's a very interesting question.
I'd like to take it on. Yes, that's an interesting question and a good one at that to start with. If you see the PLI scheme, yes, the way they've given it in terms of the monetary benefit that you accrue or the turnover time or the turnover amount, yes, we have already been doing this with certain, not exactly for the PLI scheme, but for the encouraging the startups. It actually, if you see it, if there's a tie-up, the startup himself, because he's new in the segment, he may be technologically good or his ideas are extremely out of the box and game changing. So it is either he goes on his own steam, if he's got the funding and other things, or he could tie up as a joint venture or as a component manufacturer helping a bigger industry player and join with him and realize this. And I'm very sure the PLI, as for my understanding, takes care of this particular thing, because then the volumes will increase because he's supporting an established player and he's in turn also generating the volumes. So I'm very sure he will be benefited.
So, thanks so much, Colonel Ravi, for this response. An add-on question that I'll pose to the panel on this one is that what do you look like? We do expect that the cost of components might go up, particularly given that we are currently sourcing them from a fairly low-cost manufacturing center for the entire world, at least some of them. What is your expectation? What is the cost delta that you will be okay with? And what should component manufacturers do in general to be considered in the running for replacing some of these components beyond merely the cost? Because we all know that the fundamentals probably are not necessarily in favor of local component manufacturing to be as competitive as what we get from the rest of the world.
Yeah, that's in fact one of the very major decisions that any drone manufacturing company would be taking it, because one is the cost, second is the technology, and the third is the reliability of the particular product. Now, the reliability of the particular, I'll come the other way around. The reliability of the particular product being made in India right now, for example, say we have certain manufacturers of the motors. I mean, I'll be very candid. The motors we generally source it we used to source it from China, or we now source it through a white label company from the Southeast. I mean, let's be very candid. Okay, so once that thing comes in, earlier from China, it used to say, for example, cost 100 rupees. Now from a white label company, it will cost you 110 bucks. And tomorrow with a startup, if we support them, they are for sure going to come up to the standards, especially in terms of the reliability, the quality, and the quantity. When the quantity starts increasing, your cost will come down. So until the cost stop coming down to even 110 or 120, right now if I have to pay 150 to him, at least as Dynamatics, we would support him and encourage him in investing on that to get onto the quality, because until you have the quality and the reliability, he wouldn't succeed. And once he does, and the market is open to him across the spectrum, wherein everyone would love to help him out, I'm very sure all the big players, or even the small players for that matter, or any component purchaser would even sell out 120 bucks, because and over a period of time, I'm very sure if the volumes increase further, we'll be even the particular setup would be selling it for 90.
Mr. Sambat Kumaran, as somebody who has experience in indigenizing components through local MSMEs, what is your feedback on this particular point?
It is a chicken and egg story, Okay. See, in fact, we play we play in the defense vertical where volumes are less. Okay. Value may be different. I don't want to talk about it. But as I already told you, it is basically the other segments. Okay. Today, because of the very strict rule of the drones, it all affected the drones manufacturer for almost like about 18 to 24 months. We have gone through that cycle. But today government has realized the potential, and they are coming out, and they wanted to start even the corridors for logistic purposes. So I am sure, probably it is the time which will answer your question. But yes, in the interim, if you really look at it for today, the manufacturer or the component manufacturer has to go through that pain of sustaining for next couple of months or maybe for a year or so. But with more sectors opening up, the answer lies there. Today, the very reason why, I think I will also answer your first question because my friend Ravi has answered that. See, the very reason why the PLI scheme has come in is to encourage manufacturer or even the startup company to come and set up manufacturing the components in the country. In any case, day one, Government of India is not coming and giving you the PLI benefit. Only when you produce, wait for a year, and when you declare your result, so if you are an MSME, let us start with that. A company which is having 50 crores of turnover is eligible on the components category, and company which has got a 2 crore of turnover is qualified under that. So, if somebody is expecting that, he will get the PLI benefit first and then, realize it's not going to work. Somebody has to come, invest, produce. So it is productivity linked incentive. It is not manufacturing productive incentives. That differentiation we have to understand and go ahead with basically. Okay. But one thing is, as we all know in the drones committee, we have spent a lot of time about last 1 year. Their potential is going to be huge. In fact, we Indians are very good in living with hope. Let us live with a good hope. Let us live with a good hope of making it big, and I am sure it's going to be coming because government is taking a lot of initiative. One is, as of 25th August, they came with a rule. In fact, it's a path-breaking rules change. They have done it. 1.5 years back,
Absolutely.
we know what pain the drone industry has gone through with zero sales, and we were not able to sell the product. But today it is completely opposite of it. Situations are changing, as Prime Minister has already pointed out even in the last week Mann Ki Baat. So the focus is coming for drones manufacturing. Ministry of Commerce has responded positive to our committee when we made a presentation. So it's all let us live with a big hope that the changes which are coming in this industry is going to stay for a long time and benefit the industry at large for everyone.
Absolutely. So in the interest of time, I'll take one last question, which I'll pose to both Mr. Sanjeev and Neil. The question is again a very interesting question. Which geographies in terms of drone manufacturing and component manufacturing are we competing with? And what are the advantages that India offers? Mr. Sanjeev, would you like to go first?
Majorly, the competition is again from China. If we talk about when we talk about the technologies also and as well as pricing. But we believe that it can be handled. If we can do it for a 500 rupee camera, it can be very easily done for these kind of cameras also. And maybe the major competition is coming from these geographies only. And what was your another part? I didn't just
Yeah, mainly what are the advantages that India offers as a destination for manufacturing?
So, as on the advantages side, we can say about it's the customization, the integration with your softwares, because camera, whatever feed you're going to get in, any manufacturer has to integrate with the other parts of the drones and the majorly with the software which they are going to play. So, the local vendor for cameras can be much more helpful in integrating the APIs and SDKs and have a close integration and get maximum output. And better results. That is going to be the biggest advantage with the local vendors. Apart from cameras also, it can be for other things also. How the total overall costings or the efficiency can be brought in the complete product with the local components. That is the another key which I believe in.
Very useful, Mr. Sanjeev. Neil, what about you from an overall drone perspective? What are the geographies?
Yeah, I think largely the US, Europe, and the Asian countries, China, Japan, Taiwan, especially those are very strong in electronics manufacturing. They have been riding the wave right from the smartphone industry and even the EV industry now. So I think in terms of cost and cost quality as well as kind of the product spread that they offer in terms of components is something that we have to contend with. But yeah, I think there are very reliable manufacturers both in the US as well as Europe for component manufacturing. Definitely I think China is the one to beat. In terms of what value India can offer, I think firstly as a drone manufacturer, definitely coming back to even the previous question, we would look for local support and I think willing to pay higher for that, right? Like there are you can't return things that you get from outside very easily. People are not willing to replace those things, whereas with a local vendor those are much easier. Secondly, from an overall ecosystem perspective, I think there are other tangential markets or ancillary markets where drone components or the components which are used in drones are also used. So we are talking about smartphones, we are talking about EVs where batteries are used, a lot of common components, even motors probably. So I think there's a larger market base here. So if you think strategically, probably there is a good market base to produce components here. Drones may be a smaller market as of now, but over a period of 10 years, that could be a very large market as we are all are hoping for. So I think kind of the overall other markets where such components can be used is also a draw for companies to start producing here.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. I think this was a great panel, and I really love the conclusion part where particularly we are highlighting that as far as drone manufacturing and component manufacturing is concerned, we will have to go local. We'll have to customize our platforms to the specific needs of our customers. We will have to have a significantly better service model and better service experience for our end customers to be able to drive adoption of local technology, albeit even if it is available at a slightly higher cost. I also am excited to note that on one end, if a component is coming from a very high volume manufacturing industry, one could look at drone as a add-on component or an add-on product line in that segment, and the kind of incentive that PLI provides could be a useful benefit to do some dedicated effort in that direction of that customized line. And as far as somebody starting afresh, it could mean that it's the right low volume segment that can help you establish quality and help you establish price, a sustainable price in the short term that can allow you to then break into other larger volume segments over a period of time. With that, gentlemen, thank you so much for this session and your insights. We really look forward to meeting all of you again on another conversation. With that, Mukul, over to you for the next session.
Thank you, Ankit.
Thank you, Ankit.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Sampath Kumaran. Thank you, Sanjeev ji. Thank you, Ravi ji. Thank you, Neil. It was a wonderful, wonderful session. Thanks for chairing it so beautifully, Ankit. Before you all go, I would like to ask one question to each of you and request you to answer that in 30 seconds. It will help us set the context for the coming panel discussion. Starting with you, Ankit, where do you see startups fit in the drone game, especially when it comes to PLI? In 30
I think, I have been maintaining for a really long while that the only way that we will benefit or India will get a large part of value in this industry is not by trying to match volumes, but by trying to innovate and get ahead in terms of performance, in terms of experience, in terms of end outcome for the end customer. So I believe that when it is about innovation, when it is about going and pushing the technology's boundaries, I think startups are one of the best areas and opportunities for innovation in the world. And I believe that there is a strong possibility of benefiting the drone industry through their efforts.
Yeah. In fact, I echo most of the things what my friend Ankit has said. Definitely, it is the quality of the product and the innovation that we can bring in. The end minds can definitely think differently, bring innovation, thereby reducing the cost of manufacturing. Today, of course, in India, we say labor is cheaper vis-a-vis with other countries. So they bring innovation, produce a quality product, and I am sure, in fact, don't look at which organization we represent. In the drone industry or anti-drone industry, all of us are almost on the same page. We are all startup companies, so we are all startups in that regard. Okay. So there is a lot of space for everybody to grow, but think differently and, innovate.
So I believe startups are going to play a bigger role here because it's some field which is really started now. As I earlier also spoke about the same thing, that we all are sitting at the same level. Starting point is same for all of us. So maybe this is one opportunity which is equally available for even the bigger groups or the smaller startups. And it is how fast we can run and who can win the race. So race is open for all.
I echo the sentiments of Mr. Ankit and Mr. Sampath and also Mr. Sanjeev. But I also at this point would like to get out that yes, we are all starting at the same benchmark. But at the same time, instead of competing, if we can collaborate and complement each other, be it any big industry or the startups or the SMEs, we as an industry would benefit to a very, very large extent. And this PLI scheme also would be helping towards this, as also the other rules are in place. And we truly can be the drone manufacturing hub. We collaborate and complement each other.
Yeah, I think probably two opportunities. One is, as we have seen, the PLI scheme also covers, software development. So I think that is probably a ready opportunity for, startups to kind of, start developing solutions for the drone industry in that area. And secondly, I think, startups, are always going to take advantage of the disruptive technology first, right? And as we say, even with the larger players like Dynamatics and Adani, they're working closely with startups and collaborating with them because they understand the same, that the startups are better positioned to take advantage of this technology. I think what we really need to do is to incentivize component manufacturing here, so that we can have a reduced dependency on other countries over a long run. But while we make components in India, I think we should always have the target that we are making for the global industry, not just for India. So just use the PLI scheme as a jumpstart and kind of get into a much larger market share than maybe the smaller Indian market to start with.
Perfect. Thank you. To sum what we have done from the morning, I'll sum it up in three things. 180,000 crores of manufacturing potential, becoming global hub for the drones manufacturing, and inclusive growth for big organizations and startups alike. On that note, we thank all the gentlemen, including Ankit, Sampath, Sanjeev ji, Ravi ji, and Neil, for this wonderful panel discussion.